Hey everyone, welcome to the Akash Weekly Twitter Spaces. I'm Nadia Bajuelo, Community Events Manager here at Overclock Labs. I hope everyone here now, listening later, or watching from our YouTube channel is having a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever it is that you're joining from. The month of August comes to a close today, and I wanted to thank you guys, the incredible Akash community, for making it a great month. With that, let's get started with today's spaces. Greg will kick us off with a look back at the month of August, both in the Akash ecosystem and the broader industry. After updates, we'll give you guys a full introduction to our special guest today, Ali Merchant, Developer Relations Lead here at Overclock Labs. During our guest segment, we'll be chatting with Ali about his journey into blockchain and Web3. Then we'll find out how he found his way over to Akash, why it's been one of his favorite Cosmo projects, and more. We'll then wrap up, as always, with an AMA with Greg. We'll meet Ali in just a bit, but for right now, let's hand it off to the man of the hour and CEO of Overclock Labs, Greg Osuri. Take it away, Greg.
Thanks so much, Nadia. What a week has it been for Akash ecosystem and an incredible closure of the month. Well, to our great luck, Hetzner has announced that they are going to ban all things crypto. Hetzner happens to be one of the most cost-efficient clouds in Europe and happens to be one of the cloud providers that runs most of Cosmos ecosystem's node infrastructure as well as 17% of all the hosted cloud nodes for Ethereum. This announcement is a major announcement, which I believe will set forth a series of bans by centralized cloud providers. And this is exactly the reason why Akash exists. And Akash exists for a non-censorable, sovereign, always on cloud, right? So and that's equally cheap as a Hetzner. So this is a great opportunity to realize that your infrastructure, when hosted on a centralized provider, is not safe, and there are no guarantees in this game. Only reliable, scalable, sovereign, censorship-resistant infrastructure of the future is decentralized, and Akash is leading that charge. So that and a very interesting fact when Hetzner got banned is that Akash started trending. And this is, I consider, a milestone for community achievement, community engagement. The first thing on people's mind when Hetzner got banned was Akash. So that just tells you how strong our community has gotten over the years and how far our message has spread in terms of a viable alternative to a major cloud provider in Europe. And this is just the first step. And next step, obviously, is going to be the Amazons and Googles of the world. And the world started taking notice. We got trending. To trend, there are about 7,000 tweets per hour that were talking about Akash on Twitter when Hetzner banned crypto. And this is incredible, incredible feat, you guys. I mean, I'm so proud of the Akash ecosystem to, come this far in spreading the word. And sooner or later, our product is growing up to a point where it gets super, super simple to adopt. And on that front, what are we doing from a product standpoint? So there are amazing work that's happening on a daily basis. I would categorize that kind of work into two main categories. One I call incremental updates, and another one I call exponential updates, right? So incremental updates are essentially updates we make every day to the protocol. So we began Akash Network as purely ephemeral container native cloud hosting network that evolved to persistent storage and that and evolved to having IP leases, static IP leases, which is a new class of resources that are available. And slowly we will have private container registries to private networking to GPUs and whatnot. So as we keep adding features, the capabilities of the network expand and the user experience along with it expands too. But the best part is the user experience improvements, not come from us alone, but comes from our community, right? And that's an incredible feat to achieve when it comes to decentralization. So this, puts us in a very strong position with protocol clients, right? So with that, I'd love to welcome Speron officially to our protocol client ecosystem. So a protocol client is essentially a piece of software that's built on top of the protocol that leverages the protocol to achieve a function that's ideal for that protocol client, right? So for Speron, Speron happens to be this developer-friendly deployment platform that has a decent market share in the Indian segment, especially in the Polygon ecosystem and Ethereum ecosystem, that make it extremely simple to deploy JavaScript-based applications on the cloud. So them adopting Akash as the go-to cloud is an enormous achievement by itself. And this is a part of a larger ecosystem where we have CloudMoss that essentially makes Akash deployment very simple. And you have Moultrie that makes auditing extremely pleasing. Freightar that makes cloud becoming a provider on Akash extremely easy. Vixello is now um, working on an on-ramp to enable fiat payments, invoice-based fiat payments onto Akash. You have Third Web, their head of DevRel showed a little demo they're working on, how they're integrating with Akash. That's fully not official yet, but we'll be making some announcement in that front. And other miners like Evergreen miners, there are a whole lot of clients building on top of Akash that's individually doing a function that's beneficial to them by also extending that benefit to the Akash on the bottom line. So this is how decentralized systems are supposed to grow organically, naturally. You don't normally see this level of engagement in any other project because a lot of times the project teams end up building the user interfaces and all the other necessities um, that you would deem fit for improving user experience. But in Akash's case, it is the community that's building, and it's a very powerful narrative. And even though it takes longer for this narrative to strengthen as community takes time to build and get adoption, once that growth curve kicks in, these integrations will become exponential factors in growth. So I'm very excited that Akash is growing in a very decentralized manner and in a very open manner with an amazing community that's supporting this growth. So I'm just so thrilled, to wake up every day and work on Akash. So thank you all for making that happen. With that, also when it comes to community, we saw amazing people like Dan Cosmonaut, that talks about, we see this post that explain what Akash is to new people, right? So, and a lot of you sitting in this call probably know what Akash is, but there are new people coming into our ecosystem and they need to be educated. So when I see threads like exploring AkashNet by Dan Cosmonaut, I really, appreciate and admire the effort because that's how you spread the word. So please keep doing that, and we'd love to work with you. And also, if you want to get more deeply involved, go to our website akash.network/community. The programs called Akash Insiders and Akash Vanguards that have various levels of improvement involvement. In case you want to help out in a more formal manner, please go check it out. Uh, with that, let's start off. August has been, like I said, an incredible month, and the month really began with ecosystem clients like Vixello and all of them. You know, demonstrating that they're going to start integrating Akash. We saw an amazing demo from Praetor showing how the integration will look like. And Praetor has a very interesting approach compared to other protocol clients, wherein they help you Dockerize an image. So Dockerization is essentially a part of deploying on Akash, where you take the source code that you develop, say a website or a web application, and you package that into a container. And we all know containerization is one of those mundane tasks that some people are skilled to do, but most people are not skilled to do because it does require some amount of systems knowledge. So Fedor showed us an amazing containerization effort along with their, provider enablement feature. So that was pretty interesting. CloudMouse announced that they're building an SDL builder. So SDL again is another configuration piece of Akash, wherein you specify the image, the application you're going to run, the amount of resource your application would need, where it should be deployed, what kind of attributes it should filter for, and how much you're willing to pay. So it's essentially a domain-specific language that we created for Akash to deploy on Akash, right? And it's a little complicated, requires you to go learn about it. But CloudWatch announced a tool that makes it extremely simple using a wizard online that you can simply click through and build your SDL. So it makes deploying on Akash much simpler, right? And we saw an amazing Akash community member, Luna Forgo, right? They released something called a Terraform provider. So for those of you that don't know what Terraform is, it is the cloud orchestration tool used by 80% of the cloud, right? Or more, perhaps. Well, cloud orchestration in the sense there are tons of resources on the cloud that one need to create in order to be functional, right? So you need to create networking, you need to create disks and compute and IP addresses, and you need to connect them. You need to configure quite a lot when you're deploying a cloud application. So Terraform makes it super simple to do so, and makes by allowing you to script it, right? So allowing you to turn your clicks into code essentially, and they have something called providers where you can where Amazon, for example, is a provider, and Google GCP is another provider, or Azure is another provider, right? So like that, now we have an Akash provider. So that means you can now coexist with other big cloud providers in the same infrastructure, where our chances of adoption is much higher, because now we're not forcing, or the notion that you have to move all your infrastructure into Akash is not true, but rather you can push a little bit of your infrastructure. So maybe start off with developer environments if you like to get a feel for how Akash is, and get used to the nuances of what Akash, essentially entails to. So people can now slowly start adopting Akash instead of doing a whole switch. And these kind of integrations are exceptionally important to us. This integrations was so good that we got a call from HashiCorp itself. HashiCorp is a company that actually makes Terraform, and they were so excited that our ecosystems are actually coming together. So there might be something in the announcement very soon. HashiCorp, for those of you who don't know, is a multi-billion-dollar company. It's a public company. It's the darling of Web 2 infrastructure companies. It's one of the most respected infrastructure companies. They make tools like Terraform, Vault, Nomad, and a lot of very highly respectable tools. By the way, Nomad is another piece of software that uses my code that I wrote for Akash. So it's a full circle, right? So, we helped them, I guess, a long time ago, and now they're sort of like coming back. So this is beautiful convergence happening in the infrastructure space, and the amount of work the overclock teams and Akash teams are doing to integrate the Web 2 into Web 3 is enormous. And moments like these are times when we look back and be like, well, these are all coming together. So soon enough, when Web 3 becomes mainstream, Akash will be leading the charge. So it's really good news to see a large public company like HashiCorp get involved in Web 3 with Akash. Our amazing community member, Dimokos, he's been pumping deployments. I mean, I love seeing him containerize all the Web3 protocols and different applications and deploying them Akash and showing what you can do, right? So he's got an amazing content. I highly recommend you follow him. His Twitter account is uh, Dimokos VRN underscore VRN. That is DIMOKUS underscore VRN. If you are interested in what kinds of applications, all kinds of that you can deploy in Akash, Dimokos has been just on the prowl. He posts amazing content. I really admire him. And he also works with me on weekends. We have this Weekends Warrior Club, I suppose, that we all work together online. Um, and a big, news item for this month has been Chia. Chia has launched this high performance miner called Bladebit, and they chose Akash as their official launch partner. It's not Amazon, it's not GCP, Akash. So Akash was the first decentralized cloud to be a launch partner to a major proof of work protocol, on their new product, right? So this is an indication that we're starting to slowly bridge the narrative. So the and Chia is very far looking, right? They knew that Hetzner's of the world are not going to support crypto, so they chose a decentralized cloud as a launch partner and as a partner that they want to introduce their community to, right? So, I mean, this is, with the Hetzner ban, we're going to see a lot of proof of stake move this way as well. And Chia is definitely a leader in setting that standard as to how what a launch partner should look like. And this is the trend. As we keep building through the bear market, we're going to see a ton of protocols that are going to use Akash as a launch partner and abandon the Web 2, so the Hetzers of the world. So it's really good news for us. And we welcomed several projects to Akash ecosystem, Stake Woolly and Money Space and Anon Stake and Cosmos Directory itself is hosted on Akash. So go check out our ecosystem page, ecosystem.akash network, for a full list of amazing projects currently on Akash. And finally, at a broader level, we saw a lot of hacks happen. Unfortunately, people lost a lot of money. It's sad, but also at the same time, it also, I mean, and the fact that Cosmos ecosystems is strong amongst these exploits makes me very proud of Cosmos ecosystem, right? I was able to test both our wallets, our Cosmos, Station wallet and the Kepler wallet, both passed with flying colors. They're extremely secure. I was able to see what kind of information gets sent. Turns out nothing that matters gets sent back to the servers, and all the information is stored locally. And that with that, that's a very a Cosmos ecosystem has been traditionally very strong. Some of these exploits really expose the strength of our ecosystem. And also, we had a unfortunate event where a software developer was arrested for writing software that supports privacy. Now, I'm not fully clear if there are other charges this person has been charged with, and the Dutch authorities that arrested this person, the developer for Tornado Cash, essentially, did not really give us much details to have confidence in the government that there are other charges, right? So I'd like to see the charge sheet, but I suppose you can hold somebody without bail for 90 days in Dutch, in Amsterdam, without charging him. So it's kind of a weird law. I mean, in the US, you have to charge somebody to hold them. So he hasn't been charged with anything, but they're holding him without bail for 90 days. So I hope this is something more serious than writing software, because if otherwise it's a blatant attack on free software, right? And that's not okay. You can't just go, arrest software developers for writing open source software. It doesn't matter what the open source software does, uh, as long as he's not involved in illicit activities himself, right? So it's unfortunate, and I feel like this is something that we need to not accept from the state. State is supposed to serve people, not not otherwise, right? So this is something that I want to throw my weight for and support to release this person, unless they really come out with explain what charges are, right? So keep an eye on the story. I think the story needs the limelight. And also, really, and there's an amazing trend that's happening at a macro level, right? So cloud industry, which is about $500 billion industry, is now starting to see cracks. Companies like Walmart are coming back from the cloud because they realize cloud over time is very, very expensive. And this is something we wrote in our white paper. If you read Akash's white paper, we said cloud only looks great on the short term, but on the long term is actually very expensive. And people are now starting to realize that. And it's amazing that our thesis is coming to fruition. And I highly recommend you go check out Akash's white paper. It's written in 2018, and there are a bunch of blog posts that we wrote from that time as well that all talk about how expensive cloud is going to get. And now we see Walmart's coming back and building their own data centers, saying cloud is too expensive for them. And the best part, when they build their own data centers, they're going to have unutilized supply. Why? Because Walmart's most traffic for Walmart comes during shopping seasons, be it Black Friday or be it Christmas and whatnot, right? Most of the time, their utilization is going to sit less than 5% or 10%. So when that happens, their only avenue to offload that capacity is a cache network, right? So our thesis of, well, you're going to have companies move away from the from the cloud, and the data centers are going to get repatronized, and there's going to be massive underutilizations coming to fusion, right? So we're going to see a lot of these players like Walmart come away, and we're going to aggressively pursue them from a business standpoint, to make sure they know Akash and use Akash. And more incidents that we have and opportunities for us to voice who we are, our values, and spread the word, the better these companies are going to recognize. And Akash is getting slowly, with our capabilities that we're adding in terms of private networking and private containers and all kinds of amazing things. Akash is slowly getting to be enterprise ready. So sooner or later, we're going to be ready for a Walmart type, both as a user, I mean, right now we're okay as a provider, but also as a user. I think in a couple of years, you're going to see this amazing convergence happen, and I'm super bullish, and that's the vision that we're working towards. So, with that, I'm going to wrap up our monthly and weekly updates, and love to welcome our new head of DevRel, Ali Merchant, here on the call with us.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. Yep. Today we are welcoming Ali Merchant, Developer Relations Lead here at Overclock Labs. Ali comes to Overclock Labs from Ignite, formerly Tendermint. Prior to that, he was over at SifChain. Having worked in the blockchain space for over 5 years, Ali has worked on DeFi, IAM, and IoT related blockchain projects. He's passionate about blockchain, Cosmos, and astrophysics. Welcome, Ali. We are so excited that you've joined Overclock Labs. How are you today? Ali,
Hey,
there.
can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Much awesome. Thank you so much, Nadia, for having me. And as always, Greg, you gave an amazing update to the Akash community. Also, my greetings for the day for all my fellow Akashians who are listening right now.
Thank you. So, Ali, we are just getting to know you. So, before we jump into the tech side of things, can you tell us a little bit more about what you like to do outside of work?
Um, sure, that's a very interesting question. So, for me, blockchain is like one of the most passionate things that I do, and I spend like a lot of time doing that, researching and like studying about new technologies. Also, as you said, I have a very keen interest in astrophysics, so I try to like read something about it like every now and then, and try to also keep myself updated. Outside the intellectual things, I like enjoy reading and learning about philosophy, history, and religion.
So outside of
Amazing.
work, Ali likes to look at the cosmos into the Akash.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
that's
we
right.
got that reference, but those of you that got, please enjoy it.
All right, Ali. So we'll be diving into how you landed here at Overclock Labs and Akash in just a moment. But first, how did you find your way into Web3 and blockchain? Can you take us through your journey?
Yeah, sure. So this is, I think, a very interesting story. So, like before 2017, I was like very much interested and invested into data analytics and machine learning. So, actually, during the holiday season of 2017, I stumbled upon a meetup group in New York City where there was like a couple of people, I think like 25, 30 people talking about decentralized ledger technologies and digital assets. There I met Austin Murat, who was the ten technical lead of Coda, and he introduced me to the decentralized space. Later, I like joined Chain House to work on a decentralized project for a POC for a World Bank, and then there I was in the rabbit hole, and I never looked back.
Amazing. So you have likened Web3 today to the early days of the internet while also sharing that everyone should understand blockchain technology. Why do you feel it's so important for devs and non developers alike to have a grasp on this new technology?
In this, that technology actually lets you make sound decisions on whether you even need that technology or not. And I like to compare Web3 with, say, secret sauce. So, Web3 is not a secret sauce that can magically solve all problems. There are still many applications today which are best solved by Web2. Now, coming back to the question, I think like the first thing is understanding of Web3 uh, is enables you to make good decisions, and the second thing is like once you have that knowledge, then you can implement that knowledge into a Web3 application. So, and for non-devs, I think it is also equally important to understand Web3. So, not just like for the core developers who are like using it on a day-to-day basis, even non-developers like need to know about the technology and learn about it. Like for example, people who people who don't understand how PayPal works under the hood, and that's okay, but people do understand like how to use it, and I think like that, or like how to use it and what it does, and I think that's enough. So I think that same analogy can be applied to like Web3 for non-devs.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about your experience with Akash specifically. So how did you first hear about Akash?
um yeah, so I heard first about Akash, I think back in 2020, or like end of 2020, when I was like working at SwiftChain, and we did a project in collaboration with Akash. And I was kind of in awe with the vision that Akash had. Just like a disclaimer, it was little difficult to use Akash back then, but the idea of decentralized cloud kind of stuck around my head, and like since then I've been just following what Akash has been up to.
So you said that Akash has been one of your favorite Cosmos projects. What about Akash stood out to you that made it one of your favorite projects?
Yes, so Akash is like, or is indeed one of my favorite projects that I like always have always looked up to. One of the reasons why is, and I've like said this again and again, that is like Akash is providing value like right now, like no false promises or gimmicks, or not like promises of the future, but providing something that is tangible even today. I also find that Cosmos has is solving a very unique problem in the Cosmos space. So there are many dexes with, of course, different value propositions or different chains that allow EVM contracts, execution, etc. But what as his wrap up, that like cloud providers today, uh, we will eventually migrate from the cloud providers, and we will need a solution for that. And I think like Akash is on the forefront, and the and I think like with many decentralized centers coming down, I think like Akash will truly shine out in this phase.
So I know you deployed on Akash a little while back, and I heard that you were planning on deploying again soon. What have you deployed, and what was the experience like?
Aha, that's a true story. So I tried like deploying stuff like an hour, I mean like a year back, or like a little more than that, and the experience was like not exactly rewarding. in all honesty, I tried playing around for like 30 minutes or 45 minutes, and then I just gave up due to the complexities of deployment. And I ended up using a centralized cloud provider. Just before this call, I tried deploying again, and to my sheer shock, it just took me 10 minutes. And mind you, I was a blank slate. I did all the installations and deployment from the scratch. It took me 10 minutes to deploy application on Akash. So I think like Akash has come a long way since then, and I'm just like very excited on like how more better it can improve and the user experience.
Guys, if you also want to try a 10-minute deployment on Akash, we've got a tweet pinned up top for you above my profile picture. You guys could go ahead and try it too. So, Ali, we are beyond excited to have you. What do you hope to accomplish here as developer relations lead?
I think like that's one of the most difficult questions. But the very first thing that actually I want to work on is removing the gap between the users and the product. And I think like that's the primary job of DevRel. That's like education and like filling the gap between the community and the core developers. Um, I think like one way that that can be done enough resources for users to understand and use Akash, as well as like good constructive feedback engineers. The second thing that I want to achieve is awareness. So today we have a fully functional product that people can use and like migrate to.
We're having trouble with Ali's connection. Can you hear him, Nadia?
Yes, I could hear him just a little bit there at the end, right when Ali, could you go ahead one more time with what you just said?
Yeah, sure. So the second thing that I was talking about is about achieving awareness. And today we have a fully functional product that is like easy to use, and people can migrate to it from a centralized cloud. As Greg was saying, maybe not everything at once, but maybe slowly, a test environment first, and then the production environment, and then one day completely move away from centralized dependencies. And lastly, I would like love to represent Akash in like in the Cosmos ecosystem, the cloud ecosystem, and broadly in all technological arenas.
Awesome. We're so excited to welcome you to Overclock Labs, Ali. With that, let's open up our AMA with questions for Greg and Ali if you have any questions for him. Um, Go ahead and request to speak. We'll bring you up, or you could reply on Twitter or send us a question in on Telegram. If we don't have any questions here, we do have one coming in online. Greg, the first question is, how decentralized is Akash's validator nodes, or are Akash's validator nodes? Could AWS or Hetzner shut down Akash network?
Good question. So, Akash, we haven't done detailed analysis on the actual full nodes, but somebody did a check on the RPC service, I believe. Um, and there was a report I saw recently that indicated most of validator nodes, not providers, validator nodes are actually running on Hetzner. So I was a little surprised by this fact, right? Because I would imagine if you're a Akash validator, you would not be running on a centralized provider. But looking into it, Hetzner so far has been, a pretty good provider for the most part. I mean, they're bare metal provider. They're cost efficient. They don't charge for bandwidth, I believe. I mean, or they have a fixed rate for bandwidth. And now they announced that they're going into ban crypto. So, I would imagine most validators on Akash, Akash validators should move away. And they can't really use Akash because that'll get into an extremely complicated situation if something were to go wrong, right? So Akash validators running on Akash means it means a meta deployment, and that'll be something crazy. Maybe some portion of it can run on Akash, but I wouldn't like, encourage the actual full node to be running on Akash itself. Because when things go wrong, the validator is supposed to, you know, fix the chain, and if they're fixing a chain that they're hosted on, it'll get into all kinds of unknown problems. I don't even know what kinds of stuff is going to happen, right? So anyway, so it's a little complicated for Akash validators itself to use Akash. I mean, they can use the ancillary infrastructure. I mean, for RPC nodes and all that stuff running on Akash, that's great. So they're like forced to like choose, a bare metal provider, and they'll choose Hetzner. Hetzner so far has been really good. I don't know why they all of a sudden decided to not support crypto in general, but it's a really good provider if for lack of for the part other than banning crypto. So so is it decentralized? Absolutely decentralized. I mean, they're hosted on Hetzner could, essentially, once Hetzner announced ban, they started buying new hardware, putting their in colos, and like I don't have a problem of validators, using bare metal service. It's a little more expensive, of course, but it's definitely secure. So I think finding a collocated data center to host your node is a perfectly good way. It's fully decentralized. It's permissionless. We don't, it could improve on the Nakamoto coefficient, and I like to see a lot more smaller providers get a bigger share. I think there's a huge gap between the top validator, which is Kava Labs. I think they have like 15 million AKT, delegated to them. That's a lot. So, and they have a lot of power. And the smaller guy has about 77,000 AKT delegated to them. So I encourage people to go delegate to smaller providers than one single large one. So we still need to improve on the Nakamoto coefficient factor, but other than that, things very, very decentralized.
Arnold, go ahead. Welcome to Spaces today. Go ahead with your question.
Hello, great to be here with you guys. When you spoke about the integration as a Terraform provider for Akash, that was massively exciting to hear. You spoke about sort of the approach of allowing those who wanted to enter the Akash ecosystem to effectively sort of test the water. In terms of that, I mean, when I think about it, I think, to be honest, that Akash has the capacity to be somewhat more aggressive because off the top of my head, I mean, I've already been developing some business cases. And I see quite a few business cases whereby legacy cloud infrastructure can massively benefit from having a system like Akash behind it. Say, for instance, if a client wants to keep certain parts of their architecture sovereign, delegating that effectively to the Akash network. The question is of both the contemporary cloud architecture and then gain some room once it's got that foothold to sort of make it so.
Yes,
is there someone managing that function?
Absolutely. So to summarize the question, do we have business development teams that are focused on bringing on larger enterprises that have their own data centers or some part of the workloads in their own data centers to effectively use Akash as a solution to offset the underutilization problem? Is that accurate?
Yes. I mean, and also from a more strategy perspective, because if there is, for instance, at the strategic top level of Akash, a number of sort of pathways which are kind of like, to entice almost like if you had advertising campaigns, sort of the messages you would push. So I've already thought about 4 or 5 business cases that could be sold to, for instance, if you're saying a Walmart is bringing its data centers back from the cloud. So say it's a smaller company and they can perhaps manage to keep on premise maybe 20 servers max. A case could be that Akash could be pushed to them as an easy way to have redundancy, a cheap way to scale. So I'm talking about almost developing the use cases, which at the strategic level, which then can be driven across multiple sorts of campaigns to effectively, aggressively onboard as a part of the present infrastructure, as adding value to present solutions. Do you follow?
Yes, I see where you're coming from. To answer your question, kind of, right? So we do have teams and we do have, some level of effort that's going in there, but not aggressive enough. But if you're someone that has, I mean, you clearly seem like you have a much clearer picture when it comes to how aggressive we should be. I'd love to actually have a conversation with you offline and connect you with our BD teams and actually see if we can come up with a plan. I mean, I think this sounds very enticing, actually.
Yeah, that sounds magic. That sounds very good.
So I'll reach out to you. I'll DM you, or if you have your DMs open, or you can DM me, and we'll take it from there.
That's perfect, Greg. That sounds very good.
Thank you, Arnold. I believe we have another speaker. Alvin Nai.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, thanks for hosting this. I have a question. So basically, I'm interested in running certain workloads that require kernel level capabilities. So is there a plan in the future, or is it completely written out or supporting something like Firecracker in the future?
Yes, so we don't allow super user access for security reasons, but Firecracker support is actually coming. In fact, Akash is also a test bed for a lot of new container runtimes, like Contain and a whole other new ones that are very, very promising. That some of them are actually building on unikernels, and some of them are having different architectures when it comes to security. So one of the big visions for Akash is to be able to launch these new and upcoming technologies that you don't normally get access to using the current cloud. So yes, Firecracker support and container support and unikernel support and all that is coming very soon to Akash.
Is there a way to filter for providers, or to do I have to be in some group to access these tests and bleeding edge providers testing these new capabilities?
No, it's going to be public. So there is a attribute filtering mechanism when you request compute. So in that you can simply say, contain support equals true or something like that, so flag, and you can, or like Firecracker support true. The providers that support Firecracker will start advertising themselves as supporting Firecracker, so you'll be able to actually filter through, publicly. So, but we do have a test group that get access to our test features, like our testnet features, a little more aggressively than our mainnet features. We call them vanguards. If you'd love to be part of that test group, I'd love to invite you as, I think that'd be good.
Cool. What's it called? Is it Vanguard again?
Yes, Vanguard. So if you go to akash.network/community, if anyone from the team can send him the link, that'll be great. And there is a small form you need to fill out, and it's basically just to see how technical you are. Vanguards are highly technical folks. Looks like you are someone technical because you want a kernel access. So, um, and let me ping you right now so I can.
Thank you so much. This
so
support is amazing. Coming right from the CEO.
I'm a lead community manager at Akash.
Same.
But really, no, this is
question
your
behind you.
time with Greg, and he definitely makes it a priority to be here with you guys every week. He
I
does a
just sent you
great job.
messages. I'm gonna follow up with you guys after this call.
There was one other question. I think they may have dropped off. Are there any other questions for Greg or for Ali this morning? Go ahead, request to speak. We'll get your question in. All right. With that, Greg, do you have anything to add? Anything on the hiring front? Anything else before we start to say goodbye?
Absolutely. So we are hiring, we're always hiring, but I think it's important to advertise and spread the word that we are hiring for senior developers. We're hiring about 3 of them. There's a lot of work to do. It's the only role we're hiring for. We're able to find great people for the roles. Nadia, like people like Nadia. By the way, I mean, I think a lot of Nadia deserves a lot of credit for making these spaces happen every week. This is our 9th space, right, that we've been doing, our weekly spaces, right? I mean, we do this every week, every Wednesday at 8 o'clock without fail. And you have your AMA, you can ask me anything. And Nadia is so amazing to putting these together. She puts in a lot of work. So please make sure make sure she knows that we all love her. And we're going to continue keep doing this, right? Even though it's extraneous because giving a community update every week, I enjoy it a lot because it gives me a chance to meet people like Arnold and the other gentleman here. Really, really amazing people directly, right? So, and but yeah, Nadia does a lot of work, and she's part of our she joined a company about a few months ago, a little over 3 months ago, I think, and she's been very valuable. And we're looking for people like Nadia and actually that can code. So if you are one of those, please please apply. Akash.network/careers. If you're someone really technical, if you just want to, if you may not be looking for a full-time job, but if you want to help out in any way, I mean, Akash is fully open source, so we're actually transitioning to trying to be a lot more communal. Like we are very communal when it comes to client development, right? So we have 7 beautiful protocol clients built on top of Akash. But I think the core itself, we are going to be a lot more open. So instead of like keeping the specifications internally, we're going to start publishing the specifications. Like GPU spec will be hopefully published publicly. It's about 12 pages long spec. So people can start developing these features and send us pull requests. So if you're someone technical, just ping me. Allowed to get you on board. Allowed to work with you and help you contribute to Akash. And but if you're looking for something full time, please go to our applications page, akash.network/careers, and you will see a job post for senior software engineer. So click on that apply button, and it will take you in. We are very close to selecting our VP of marketing. So we're, you know, we're we did a lot of interviews. We're doing about 3 interviews per week. So these are very promising candidates. By the time I interview them, it goes through a lot of filters. So really exciting that I'm actually able to do multiple interviews in a week. So I think very soon we're going to have a VP of marketing who's actually very technical, who's is also a former developer. So we're looking for that kind of profile, right? A marketer that used to code in the past can onboard the next wave of developers onto the decentralized cloud. So yes, the roles that are open are VP of marketing and software engineering. I mean, the senior software engineer and the software engineer being the highest priority.
Thanks so much again for joining today's event. Thanks again to Greg and Ali for spending time with us. See you guys next Wednesday with Greg at 8 a.m. Pacific.